Let's take a look at recreation and being physically active. This particular topic involves discussing or thinking about how being active and being physically active benefits your wellness and how to identify what sort of levels and intensities to participate in and to find what works for you. How do you describe yourself? Do you consider yourself active? And think about what motivates or incentivizes you to be active. What's different is depending on what part of life that you're in. Individuals who are young and healthy might be looking for socialization, might be looking for changes in body appearance, where individuals later in life might look for being able to take care of their own house, being able to carry out functional activities, and people who are ill might look at it for maintaining what level of fitness that they have at that time. So what motivates or incentivizes you to be active is an individual decision. There are a number of barriers that people state in the reason why they're not able to be physically active. It could be confidence, it could be time, motivation, maybe haven't found something that they enjoy, or it's just an inconvenience. Many times the reasons are, as I mentioned earlier in the previous video, could be fear, it could be lack of access. And so our reasons are important to recognize because we need to think of a plan to overcome them whenever we want to make a change. We choose how to spend our leisure time, whether or not we realize we're making a choice to be active. And this is a slide from leisure time activities chosen by Americans in 2011. And you can see that watching TV is 2 hours and 47 minutes. So this is just a mean. Relaxing and thinking, leisure activities, reading 19 minutes. So this is kind of looking at the total leisure and sports time, 4 hours and 59 minutes, and how someone plans to use their leisure time. And most of the time, the majority of it is watching television. If we look at 2020 versus 2019, we look at the average hours per day of total leisure time. We have approximately the same, and again we still have a tremendous greatest amount in watching television. Now we know that the pandemic has really put a change on, or really impacted how people could be active or how they chose to be active, and it still indicates that we do have a lot of time sitting and watching TV. So how do we choose to use that leisure activity is dependent upon what's most valuable, or sometimes, recognizing the opportunities that are available to you. The physical activity pyramid gives the recommended amounts and types of physical activity according to the frequency, intensity, type, and time, or FIT principles. We know that level 1, which is at the base of that pyramid, should be identifying just being active. It's that increasing your physical activity every day, and that just means moving. Try to be more moving your muscles just overall. So that means not sitting for a long time and altering sitting and standing and doing your daily activities. Levels 2 and 3 are referring to the aerobic cardiovascular benefits and also strength and muscular strength and endurance. We have those activities that are going to give us a benefit for our heart and lungs, and also our functional movement for being able to carry out activities like moving, carrying, lifting, any kind of object, and then not fatiguing when you're doing it. Level 4 is rest and inactive time. We do need to have time where we are resting. We do need to have recovery time, and that's important to recognize that as well. But we want that to be the smallest portion of the day in terms of our movement. When you find something that you enjoy doing, you're more likely to do it. So consider, what ways can you become more active on your daily basis? Do we as human beings tend to look for shortcuts? And so can we bike to work or bike to school, walk to campus? Can we find more opportunities to move throughout our day by taking the stairs instead of the elevator, or setting aside a time during your day to take a walk? And when you do that, you're more likely to be able to just kind of sneak in that activity. When you start out too fast or too intensely, it can be really discouraging because you can have soreness, extreme soreness, muscle injury, and that could hinder you from continuing. So it's really important to just start at the space where you are and adjust small steps, small little steps. So when you're looking at physical activity with frequency, that means that we're moving more every day, and that's part of that level 1. We're looking at lifting or doing some strengthening exercises, weight training or resistance exercise 2 to 3 days per week with a day of rest between, and we can do that in the gym, or you can do it by using your own body weight by doing crunches or push-ups off the wall, adaptations, and that's where working with in class, in your physical activity class, you're having that opportunity to do that. Periodicity means that you can break things up into a smaller chunk and it can accumulate over the day. So if you break that activity up into small bites that are manageable, it's just as effective as if you did it all at once. So 10 minutes here, 10 minutes there actually adds up to 20 minutes over time. If you have an ability to do some interval training and more high intensity interval training, then that really has a positive, a very effective way of increasing your cardiovascular fitness. We want to make sure that when you're doing whatever activity you choose, that you are paying attention to how it feels, how your body feels, and use that as your reference rather than what someone else next to you is capable of doing, because they could be farther along on their path. We want to make sure that we're spending our money wisely. There are so many fads that come across. Before we spend our hard-earned money on fitness, we want to make sure that we're looking at something that has been scientifically proven, something that has sound, that doesn't say lose X amount of pounds in this short amount of time. That's very appealing, but it's unlikely. It's probably just false advertising. Be wary of anything that's going to guarantee change, because the effort of change starts with what you put into it. Activities that may not be as well practiced, as well known or traditionally practiced, such as sports and games, are these. And one is yoga, and it's become more popular for sure. And you have opportunities to take a yoga class on campus. You can go to the student rec center and take 12 o'clock. I think there are several times throughout the week where you can come in and pay, I think, $4 for a yoga class, which is very inexpensive. If you live on campus in the dorms and you're a freshman, I think you get 10 free classes, so that's something to pay attention to. But yoga is really about breathing, stretching, what's called asana, moving. Vinyasa is the breath synchronized movement, so you inhale and exhale through certain movements. And there are different types of yoga, power yoga, hot yoga. Those are often more involved with improving individuals' fitness. Tai Chi and Qigong are both practiced on campus. And Tai Chi is very rhythmical, controlled movements that brings a lot of relaxation, but also develops coordination and muscle strength and stress reduction. Qigong is more about moving energy and stepping. It's very similar to Tai Chi, but it does have more of a meditative component. We want to recognize that fitness is available, physical activity is available to us no matter how young or old we are. What comes into play is we know that this particular person on the page is Dara Grace Torres. She was the first U.S. swimmer to compete in 5 Olympic Games in 84, 88, 92, 2000, and 2008. And she had children in between and was able to succeed. Let's think about Serena Williams. Serena Williams, who is unbelievable, the greatest of all times, and athlete, how her amazing feat that she accomplished in her career, and what a powerhouse that she is. So we know that age and exercise, that age is not a handicap, and it just depends on what your goals are, but we can always be physically active. So what can you do? Well, identify what's fun for you, what's enjoyable for you, what time of day is good for you. Some people are morning, some people are afternoon, and other people like to work out later in the day. You'll find that if you go to the Student Recreation Center, there are certain times of the day that are very busy. And if that might be motivational for you, or it might not be. You might be overwhelmed and you might want to go in a more quiet time. There's a link on the SRC page that can kind of give you an idea about how busy the place is before you go, which you might want to check into. You want to I want to encourage you to think about being physically active, being something that benefits your whole self, not just your body, but also your mind, your spirit, your emotional wellness, your intellectual wellness, your occupational wellness, and also because it's so tied in, your whole body is so tied in with how you perform in all parts of life. in closing, it's all on this slide in terms of looking for new opportunities, selecting things that are fun, recognize that there's more to being physically active than just the physical side of it. And I'm sure you'll find something that really is fun and enjoyable for you to continue.